Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of City Talks with Reuben Abati on your number one lifestyle station, City 1051 FM. On this show, we discuss current political and human interest stories that impact us as Nigerians, as well as members of a global human community. Today, we'll be discussing the hashtag End Bad Governance protests and the matters arising therefrom. It is my pleasure to introduce our guest for today's discussion, Mrs. Areola Oloko. She's a politician and she's an educationist. She's also an activist. Now, she is a politician and educationist with an AAA in early childhood studies and a master's degree in public health, both from University College Cork, Ireland. She's a certified mediation advisor and member of the Standing Conference of Mediation Advocates Nigeria. She is one of the few Nigerian women who contested for electoral office in the 2019 elections, running for a place in the Lagos State House of Assembly, Itiosa Constituency 1. She is passionate about her community, leading engagements through medical, social and educational interventions. After years of working with a multidisciplinary team in communities to address health inequalities, she believes that the only game changer is policy change, actualized by having credible people in places of authority, and so she decided to get actively involved in politics. With over 25 years experience as an educationist, businesswoman, philanthropist, community development expert with emphasis on health promotion and mediation, Mrs. Oloko is driven by a desire to reduce inequalities in society via transformative governance and participatory democracy. She is married with 2 children. Now, to talk about our topic brief for today, the much-touted hashtag End Bad Governance protest finally began on Thursday this week in almost all the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Thousands of people across the nation are participating in the protest under the banner of hashtag End Bad Governance in Nigeria. Organizers have called for days of street demonstrations beginning on August 1 to protest against bad governance, corruption, and the increasing cost of living, which have left millions of Nigerians struggling. In total, protesters have 19 demands. In parts of the country, such as Kano and Yobe states in the north, authorities imposed a curfew as some protesters attacked vehicles, burning them. In the capital, Abuja, the police fired tear gas shells to disperse protesters, and gunshots were heard also. By Friday morning, the rights group Amnesty International Nigeria said at least 13 protesters had been killed and more than 300 arrested. The government and security agencies had tried to preempt the violence that could erupt from hoodlums hijacking the protests to cause a breakdown of law and order. There were also accusations from government spokespersons that the protests were politically motivated. However, Nigerians were undaunted as they pressed on their demands. As the protest enters its third day, in the face of court injunctions confining the agitations to the National Stadium in Abuja, the use of tear gas on protesters, widespread looting and vandalism in some states, can the organizers keep up the momentum and prevent the protest from being derailed, or is it time to consider alternative dispute resolution? These and more are talking points in today's edition of City Talks. To join the conversation, you can call us at 0700 1051 1051. WhatsApp at 0909 916 4403, or you reach out to us on our social media accounts at City 1051 on Zoom, Instagram, and Facebook. Mrs. Amiola Oloko, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, it's day 3. And I know as a politician, as an activist, as an educationist, you've been involved in the protest. What is your assessment so far of the protest? It looks like the worst fears of government have been confirmed, with the fact that the protests have been hijacked, particularly in the northern parts of the country, forcing states like Bauchi, Yobe, Kano, Nasarawa to impose a 24-hour day curfew. But in the south, we notice a difference. People are not violent in the south. People have observed. Even in Efuno, in Delta State, when protesters went to one community, the people of the community chased them away. They said they didn't want protest. There has been no protest in Benue State. There has been no protest in Ado Ekiti. And in some parts of the country, we even had, in Jos, we had Christians protecting Muslims to allow them to pray, and the protesters saying they were not interested in violence. Now, we've seen a lot in terms of the nature of our country and how divided it is. But what's your own perspective?
Okay, let's start with Jos. Thank you very much, Mr. Abati. Let's start with Jos. So for the last 3 days, I've been saying I've been part of the protest, not because I've asked them to come out, not because it's my protest, but I just realized that if you sit back and not be part of it, we're asking and waiting for something to happen, then we're to blame as well. So the reason I've been part of it was that no matter what it is, if I stand there, even if they say something or they're going to do something, I can actually, they might listen, they might not listen, but at least I'll be able to put in my impact and say, oh, for instance, again, for instance, I will say, oh, guys, don't let us do this. Let us stick to the facts. Let us just do this, let us do that, let us do that. But if you're not part of the process, and then you just come and just say, oh, these people are just neutrals, just there, making noise, and all they want to do is loot. And then leave them to it. This was going to happen. If you look at Jos, the case of Jos, the person leading the protest in Jos is a very learned man. He has been able to speak to the people. Even when they wanted to cause problems there, they were able to identify the people that are going to cause problems. He spoke up and told the government this is what and what and what. And those people were chased away. But this one now, we have faces that are part of the protest that we don't even know. People that we are not even part of the process. We're sitting at home and saying this is what and what and what will happen. I think that the main reason why there's a divide is Nigeria is a very complex place. You said Kano, you said those places as the protests where they think where it's turning ugly. But you have to understand that for the average man out there, he does not know the difference between a protest and a riot. We have to take that into consideration. So when we're even dealing with Nigeria, we cannot just bring one blanket thing to say this is how it's going to be done and this is how things are going to happen. We need to understand our demographic, we need to understand where we're coming from. For them, for instance, they believe that if they go out, when you look at the things that they were looting, you smile and you laugh and say, what do they need it for? But they're not going to go back home empty-handed. That culturally, this is not what they do. They go to whatever it is that they're going to do, what they believe it is that's going to do. For them, it's a riot. It's not a protest. So they have to loot. I think there's a word for it in the north. It's called gamina or something like that, meaning that the spoil of the war, that they have to take it with them. So we in the south, for instance, we don't have that same kind of belief. We don't believe in those kind of things. Do you understand? And we can actually reason. And another thing that you need to take into consideration is the literacy level there as well in the north. So when we are dealing, the same way where we're dealing with policies, you cannot say the policy that you bring out here is what you're going to bring out here. What you're going to bring out. You have to tweak it a bit. You have to understand what it is. You have to understand who the people you are dealing with and the complexity of Nigeria as a whole. We're not dealing with the complexity of Nigeria as a whole. We're just coming out and saying the words like we're just saying it just for the sake of it. I don't think they actually troubleshoot it. You actually say, okay, these people have come out to riot. They've said this is what and what and what their demands are. This is what and what can happen. How can it go wrong? How will I treat the people in the north differently? How will I treat the people in the south differently? How will I treat the people in the east differently? Not because they are different, but because we all have different cultures, different beliefs, different religion backgrounds and all that. It's just the reality of life.
Okay, madam. The governor, I think one of the governors in the north, I think Governor Ubasan of Kaduna State, it was, who said, look, the problem is that in the north, most of these 15 million out of school children that Nigeria has, that UNESCO and other agencies have identified in Nigeria, are in the north. So, do you think it's lack of education that is responsible for this inability to understand the difference between protest and riot, or as the government of the day has been pointing out, that there are certain opposition politicians that are exploiting the situation to cause mayhem?
So you can't throw away the fact that the illiteracy level in the north is high. We have the data that says so. So it's not as if it's yes or it's emotion or sentiment. And then you cannot throw away the fact that people might want to hijack the process as well. But this is what I'm talking about, is what I keep saying, is that we as I don't know what to call myself now, because if I say I'm grassroots, people will say no, it's not so. So we as the fading middle class need to be involved in this protest. We need to know what it is that is being demanded for and how to go about it. Yes, literacy is a big thing, it's a big problem, and it's something that has to be solved. And it's something I've always advocated for. I've always said that we should bring out policies that says at a minimum, every child must finish secondary school. It was done in other states, in other countries, sorry. And we need to get to that part where because obviously we know what education brings. It brings exposure, it brings a bit of knowledge and understanding of what to do. So when people are not...
We have a UBEC Act. In fact, in Section 3 of UBEC Act, there is penalty for parents who don't allow their children to go to school.
Is that being enforced? Did you put something out for the sake of it and there's nothing to enforce it? Okay, let us take England. I read up somewhere that said that in the olden days, what would happen was that in England, the church decided that, it was an industrial era then. So the children were going to the industries to work and they were bringing money back home. Just the way we have it here, where the children work and it's for all. But the government decided that education was far more important than that. And then they decided to give a token to the parents. So for every parent that sends their child to school, there was a certain amount given to them. And it made a difference in bringing that up. You cannot take something from people and not want to give them something back in return. So you need to think about it. Government needs to think about it's not just putting out that policy. Like I said, the policy is important, but how to enforce it and what they need to do to enforce it and to make sure that it works.
Okay, when you said earlier on that you were involved in the protests in Lagos, let us review the Lagos situation. Governor Sanwo-Olu, in fact, took the initiative to address the people of Lagos State on the eve of the protest. And he said, look, you don't need this protest. During NSAS, things were destroyed. Do you want to destroy things again? What is the guarantee that after this 10 days of protest, on the 11th day, the price of Gari will have gone down, the cost of living will have, adjusted. There's no guarantee. So why protest? Government has heard you. Government will address your grievances. So I would like you to comment on the response of the Lagos State government and whether Governor Sanwo-Olu, in fact, has done better than the President of Nigeria, who many people are saying, come and address the people. And he has refused to do so. So do you think the President should address the people?
Let's start with the first thing first. We want to say thank you to the Governor Sanwo-Olu for listening to the people, for addressing the people. That's a governor that shows empathy and shows that he understands that he's governing his people. Now, maybe the way he has gone about it, is the way he knows how to do it. So he has said that he's going to do so and so. And he has come back after that to put another statement to say, oh, thank you, Lagosians, for being peaceful. Because, to the best of our knowledge, the protest in Lagos is peaceful. And when I say I'm involved in the protest, I do not say that I am the one that masterminded the protest or that I am one of the organizers. What I said is that I have gone to stand with them in solidarity, saying that, yes, Nigeria is important to me, Lagos State is important to me, and that I understand your grievances and I understand my grievances. Because it's not just them that are struggling. I'm struggling in Lagos. I live in Lagos, I live in Nigeria, I'm struggling. It might be a different kind of struggle, but nevertheless, I'm struggling. So when I say I'm part of them, I've gone and I've stood with them and said, yes, I believe in you, I understand you, but this is how we're going to work at it. So there's that. Now, as per the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I cannot speak for him. I don't know why he hasn't come out to address the country, but he needs to come out and address the country. Nigerians are very easy people. They're very easy people. They're the easiest people on earth to please, because I don't think any other country will go through what we are going through and will still be standing. All they need is for the president to come out and show some kind of compassion, show some kind of empathy, and just say, look, this is what the problems are. This is what we're facing. But you know what? This is what we're going to do. And listen to our demand. So the demand is very simple. You have asked me to make a sacrifice. You need to show me the sacrifice you have made. You have to reduce this governance. Because we see all the spending, we see everything, we see the House of Reps, the Senate, we see what they are spending and all that. But we are making cuts. I know for a fact that I am making cuts. I've had to let go of so many things so that I can survive in this country. So, but you are not showing us by example that this is what you have to do. All agencies, 3 agencies doing the same job. They need to go back into the system and check and tweak the whatever is happening there. They need to bring down the cost of governance. And this is what people are saying. Show us by example that you are ready to make a difference, that you are going to sacrifice something. Then I can sit back. When Buhari first came, if you remember Dr. Abati, he kind of said something like that he was going to, that we should all beg, that this is what's going to happen after a certain period. We as Nigerians were ready. We were ready to take it and sacrifice. But to our surprise and our amazement, nothing happened. So it goes back to the fact that there's still a trust issue with us and government. That trust issue, every time they sweep it away. But we need to deal with that issue and see how we can go about it. So yes, I say again, President Tinubu, President Buhari wasn't a very proactive president, but we expect better from you. And we expect that even this narrative that they are trading around, saying that, because it's a Yoruba president, that's why all this is happening. So we want you to come out and talk to us, speak to us, tell people what is happening. If you tell Nigerians, this is what I met, this is what is happening, Nigerians will listen. We want to see your face, we want to hear from you. You are our father, we want to hear from you.
Okay, Mrs. Oloko. Now, Lagos, we're talking about Lagos.
Yes.
The matter has taken a different dimension in Lagos. With a Twitter handle called @LagosPedia, telling Igbo people who are in Lagos that they must go. And they've been given a deadline that between the 20th and 30th of August, all Igbo people must leave Lagos, because they are the ones who are hijacking this protest. Whereas it is clear that there's even almost no protests in the southeastern part of the country. Who are these Yoruba people? I know that the Lagos State government has said it knows nothing about it.
Yes.
Because ethnic baiting is not part of the equation. But what's your view on this? If people leave Lagos, nobody will be able to repair their cars again. All the spare parts will no longer be available. I think we are all interdependent. So who are these people saying that Igbo must go?
So, Dr. Abati, I don't know how you want to answer that, because who are these people? I don't know the people. If the people are there, they should come out to the face. They should come out with data telling us the number of people in this Lagos that want Igbos to go. They should not hide under a Twitter handle. They should come out openly and say, this is a number of people in Lagos that have signed this petition and saying that Igbos should go. As long as the governor of the state has come out to say he has nothing to do with it, he doesn't know about it, and he doesn't endorse them. He's not endorsing them. That's all it is that matters. So those people are just face like, when there's a problem, people will come and try and cause more wahala. They're just looking for how they will. They sold the same narrative during the election. They sold the same narrative during the election. That we should vote for President Tinubu because he's a Yoruba man, he's a this, he's a that. We need to go past all these things about ethnicity and all that. We need to look at people that are competent and have capacity to rule us. I don't know what we're going to do, and I think it goes back to civic education from the grassroots, from the children in the school, where we get back to that part. So those people, as long as they remain faceless, they will remain faceless, Dr. Abati, because I don't know them, you don't know them. So who are those people? It's a pity that we cannot ask Twitter to please bring out their identity so we know. But they should put their faces there and say, show us a petition that has been signed. We know the population in Lagos State. Let us how many people have said that Igbos should go. So I think it's just all those rhetorics and people just making noise for no reason.
Okay, well, it's day 3.
Yes, sir.
Some people have expressed the view that on day 1, the protesters had made their point. Government has had the various governors from Doyeduri in Bayelsa to Fubara in Rivers, Sanwo-Olu in Lagos, Obaseki in Edo, who else? All the governors, Ubasani in Kaduna, and across the entire country, even the governor of Ogun State, they've all said government has heard and will convey your concerns. Do you think that the protesters should just let it go? After all, the legal counsel to the Take It Back movement, Adegboruwa SAN, Ebonlu Adegboruwa, has even written an opinion to say, you have made your point. Just let the matter go on. The country has already lost over 500 billion naira. The statement has been made. Let us see what government will do. But some others are saying, no, this protest will continue for 11 days, 10 days. What's your opinion?
Okay, so let us be on record that I'm all for peaceful protests. And that's what we all want. And we're hoping that it will be peaceful all the way and won't be hijacked. But then these people have come up with a demand. I've not been part of the process of them coming up with a demand. They've come up with a demand. You haven't met those demands. You haven't started with them. Because what you need to do is not come out and say, okay, because you've been peaceful, I'm going to give you half, your transportation is going to be reduced by 25%. Free maternity. Like someone was saying at the protest ground yesterday, my wife will get belly, I never even married. So what that one will do for me? Do you understand? So there's so many issues at hand. You have come to say this, you have come to say, in all that list of the things that Governor Sanwo-Olu has put out, there's nothing in there for myself as a person. I've looked at it. There's nothing that relates to my needs and relates to how I am suffering in Lagos State. And you know what I mean? So if they have put out a demand and they're saying subsidy, there's specific things that they put there. So let us deal with those things as it is that they are put there. So you cannot just say that because someone has come out and said, I will give you free medical, I will do. They've been doing all those things. They've been giving them free rides since now. So why is it any different? They didn't have to come out to be getting those free rides and free medicals and those medical interventions that they do around the place. So I don't know how. I cannot speak for the protesters. I cannot say that they're going to call it off, that they should call it off. No, they've asked for specific things. Let those demands, if not cannot be met, of course, on the spot. Let discussions start. Let them see a willingness. Let them see. First thing they've said, one of the things they said is reduction in the salaries of public officers. So let somebody come out to say that there's been a reduction and they're going to do it, and this is how. Not in their wages, though. We're talking about all those allowances that have been listed, and see the reaction of people. Whether the people will now sit back and say, okay, let us now have dialogue. But you can't come out and bait them. That's what they call it, and that's what they've been saying on the street. It's a bait.
Well, madam, the thing is that all the things they've been asking for, and longer, cut salaries of and emoluments of National Assembly members, do electoral reform, amend or throw away the Constitution and give us another.
You want a referendum?
Lead by example. All of those things. They are not things that can be done overnight. They will take time. So, and government is saying, look, we are already implementing some of these demands. We're bringing in 40,000 metric tons of rice. We are giving student loans. We're doing, other things, providing CNG, compressed natural gas stations, and the buses. Over 100 buses. We have already dispatched trucks of bags of rice to the state, just to demonstrate good faith. So when people say they want it now, could that be because they don't know how government works?
They don't say they want it now. They're saying that don't come and bait me with something. This is what we've asked for. Let us see a process. They know. Have you spoken to an average man on the street? You understand? You think they don't understand governance? They know how it works. They know that you just don't speak it and it comes to pass now. They know. But what they're saying that they have not seen in the body mannerism, the language that the government has put out, that they are actually thinking about it or they're going to implement it. So as I'm saying to you, that they need to come out and be very clear about it. You think they don't know all these things? They do. They have to come out and be very clear about it and say, nobody is expecting that will happen. Only, like that. Maybe some few people are, but I'm saying that most people are not. But they haven't in any way shown that sincerity. They've not in any way they've been shouting about the cost of things and the cost of governance and the cost of all those things before, and then after that there's something else is bought, something else is purchased, something else is whatever. Please, Mr. Abati, Dr. Abati, how does that show that they are in the process of it.
But madam, some of these demands too are beyond government. Like one woman carried a placard saying, "Now because of government, I never get husband."
That was a joke.
At 37 years.
That's some things that are a joke. And you know that our country, we cruise with a lot. That's a joke. And I mean that's the thing is a joke too. It might be that the men too, the bride price and the money that they need to achieve those things are not even there. So we can laugh about it as well, because obviously we know our culture, we know what it costs to do a wedding. You know, no matter at whatever level. I was telling someone the other day that as I am, I've never done naming ceremony. But the average man, if he doesn't do that, there's a problem. He will do it and will take Ashobi. I have never taken out Ashobi or given people Ashobi. Do you understand? So we need to even look at our culture and what it is as well. But I think that one was a joke. I saw it. I think it was a joke. And I was amazed how that was the one thing Nigerians took away. That was to say, oh, so now government I can never marry too. But that was just someone cruising on our own and putting that out. No, their demands are. I don't want us to downplay their demands. Even though we know that it cannot happen overnight, but it is so important that we do not downplay the demand, because this is the thing. They want to be seen and taken seriously.
Okay, Mrs. Oloko, in the course of this protest, we saw people in Yobe State, in Yola, Adamawa State, who came out and they were thanking President Tinubu for all the good things he has done for Nigeria. We saw pro-democracy protesters also in Abuja, and they are also Nigerians. You can't question their citizenship. We saw in Efon, Delta State, people who drove protesters away. So these are also Nigerians.
Yes.
So there are two different points of view in this matter. What do you say about the pro-government protesters?
Okay, so like in anything in this world, there will be people that are for and for that are for against. Abi? So yes, we appreciate that and they are there. So if Nigeria works for them, fine. But we cannot throw that away and say Nigeria does not work for the other people that are protesting. That works for the other people that are protesting. But think about it again. In that same light of someone holding a placard and saying, now because of government I never marry. In that same light we have people that were holding no protest and they still say Garina 1,000 no buy this one and that. They're still protesting while holding. They didn't even have an understanding of what that poster that they were carrying in their hands. What somebody was for. So, Dr. Abati, so please let us weigh it as well. So those protesters, I'm not saying that they were paid or they were bought or they were. I wasn't there. I don't speak when I don't have the facts. But in that same protest, we saw them say otherwise, and that they are hungry.
Okay, before we throw the lines open, because there are people who have joined us on social media and also who are listening to us at home. I see you are wearing a very interesting T-shirt. It's titled Thug, and the thug is crossed out. And you say passionate about Nigeria, and that is intriguing for me because I recall that during the Constitutional Conference talks, when they were doing public hearings, town hall public hearings, you had an encounter with Senator Oluremi Tinubu, now First Lady, and she called you a thug, and you said, well, I'm not a thug, look at me. Do I look like a thug? Just about that, public area. But I see that that label, you still have not forgotten it, despite the fact that she had told you that she didn't call you a thug. And I see you say you are passionate about Nigeria. Can you address that?
So nobody actually came to me to say that they didn't call me a thug. So I'm still that label is still there, but I refuse to accept that label. But it's the same way that I've joined the protest, not because I want to protest, not because I want something bad to happen, not because I want them to destroy property and steal property. No, but just because it is our constitutional right. I want them to. You have to let government understand that our rights are our rights, and you cannot infringe on them. The same way that all the other countries we go to, nobody's going to give anybody anything for free. Dr. Abati, nobody gives anybody for free. You have to speak up, you have to demand it, you have to ask for it. On their own, all the countries that we admire today, they did not get there like this, and it did not happen overnight. But it got there from people speaking and demanding and asking for accountability. This is all we ask for in our country. We ask for accountability. It is not so difficult. But just say, look, let us trust you, so you too can trust us. Let us work together. Let us collaborate. But come to us with sincerity, so we know what it is that you are doing. Show us your books. Tell us what it is that you are doing. Even if you even come and say this, but when you come and just bring things and you bring policies and you just say things like and expect us to just take it and then as if we're all stupid and we're all inside, it's annoying. So yes, I haven't forgotten about it because nobody has apologized to me today. that this is what they called me, or this is the name that was branded. But I just want people to know that the reason that I do what I do is because I'm passionate about my country, Nigeria. I believe in my country, Nigeria, and I believe that Nigeria is going to work. But I know that Nigeria cannot work with everybody sitting back and not doing anything. I know that the only way that for a change to happen is by us speaking up and demanding that accountability and insisting that those that are in governance are people with capacity and competence to rule us.
Okay, on that note, Mrs. Ariola Oloko, I think we should take a quick commercial break, and then when we come back, we'll provide an opportunity for persons who have been listening to us at home and also via social media to comment. To join the conversation, you can call us at 0700 1051 1051. Via WhatsApp at 0909 916 4403, and via social media accounts at City 1051 on Zoom, Instagram, and Facebook. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Most of the contracts in NDDC are given out to members of National Assembly, but you don't know about it. It's okay.
When you need unbiased information, balanced analysis, reviews, and insight on the policies and programs that concern you, listen to City Talks with Ruben Abati. Be a part of it. Call 0700 1051 1051 to lend your voice on topics and help shape our country for the better.
My name is Ruben Abati. I will be your host on City Talks from noon to 1 p.m. every Saturday. Join me as we dissect major issues of public interest. You will be glad you did.
City Talks with Ruben Abati on your number one lifestyle station, City 1051. From noon to 1 p.m. every Saturday.
Welcome back from that commercial break. If you're just tuning in, this is City Talks with Ruben Abati on City 1051 FM. Today we're discussing End Bad Governance Protests, Matters Arising. And our guest is Mrs. Ariola Oloko, politician, educationist, activist, who has been part of the protest to show solidarity. Remember, you can join the conversation by calling 0700 1051 1051. You can send us messages via WhatsApp at 0909 916 4403 and via social media accounts at City 1051 on Zoom, Instagram, and Facebook. Thank you for joining us. Do we have our first caller on the line? Hello?
Hello.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Your name, your location.
I greet the cerebral one. This is Dr. Moses from Isolon.
Dr. Moses.
And I greet your discussant. Yeah. I'm happy that our program is now very consistent, you know. You know what I'm saying? It's no longer a Biko program. And bad governance. All manner of innuendos. For me, it is wrong to say that. You end bad governance just because you go to the ballot to vote out a government you don't want. And forever to the credit of your principal then, the fourth and possibly only president in Nigeria that will do what he did, conceding, even while as an incumbent. That's by the way. This, as I said last week and as I said on several platforms, a risk of all manner of insurrection, anarchy, revolution. They're what living of days of rage. I keep imagining. You want to protest and you feel it as if the tension in the air was so palpable as if heaven was going to fall. And you think that is right? Let me quickly address what your scholar said there. We heard to the north. Were they any more educated when Buhari was in power? They didn't see it at all. So, I mean, it's a case of code because they're not really enlightened. That's why they don't know what to go to do. That's why they can easily be influenced. But they didn't join the protest then under Buhari. No, it's so straight away, so straightforward. These guys are still thinking that the president there is somehow they can just push around who they can easily bully, that is not some president in the past. Oh, okay, they are sent from migration department to Lagos. They are still not happy with that. And some Lagos big boys are occupy them not easy my fight. This is the reason they are doing what they are doing right now. Take it or leave it. All of this is political undertone. For the South, it's unfortunate that we just be led with our noses. The truth is this, you could see with this, from telling us the way that this doesn't mean well. If the madness of Kenya is what is propelling this protest, then this protest, it is incorrect as the President put it. I can't take it at all. If I had to say, what they call a peaceful protest in 2020 will make me lose 5 of my 6 offices, both down. Was I a type of official? No. Was I in government? No. But some people took it upon themselves to vandalize and want to destroy my life. My prison went down. I try to believe this when you can tell that it is being followed by all manner of faithless and shameless who want Nigeria to get destroyed by all means. Truth is this, I love the way the government reacted because they knew that this was a kind of soft war. And let's put it this way. As Dr. Abati were in government, you know how the crucial, how almost so many presidents government is. Just not so long ago in the UK, about 4 years ago, some so-called 5 climate activists were sent into jail. They were only planning the protest. They didn't fight because they could see their evil intentions. They were going to stop majority in London. But the government didn't have none of that. And some of them got at least 5 years in prison for a protest that never even taken place. They were just planning. But the government could locate that there was an ill intention, ill motive driving this so-called protest. They will not allow it. So also in the government in Nigeria today, they understood from seeing right away that this so-called protest does not mean any well. Let those in the north know that if your son is not your power, the thing like that goes down, then take care. You have to part of Nigeria in terms of power. And let's put it this way. It's so simple. Many of us are obsessed with the federal government. I remember in 1617, when I was considering Nigeria, I started training because I was born in Nigeria. I was a neighbor, I lived in Lagos all my life. But because at least the state government there was doing something by way of the late right. Okay, the borders have been closed. But late right makes at least we can afford to buy some staple food. But what does the state government do today? They do nothing. All they do, according to the Yoruba ministry, the feeding bottle in the economy, go to Abuja every month, line like that for money. Kind of crazy. If one of our state government are crazy, then the attack on the state of the Yoruba ministry. I don't know when this is make a job now. Even local government chairman are so redundant, they do nothing. That's why they spend so much on the federal government. If the state government and the local government chairman, if they do what they should do, we don't really bother about what the federal government is doing. So they are capitalized only in little way. Okay, in terms of money, defense, and embassy, and what have you. But I know what the affect us only is has to do with the local government and the state government. So we will not look at this one. All in all, I'm so grateful that the government in its institutions in nature could see through the evil intended and they stopped it. That the people, yes, as the Bible says, and anybody they know that if they are trying any nonsense that they tried in 2006, 19 people are protest, they would have gone down with it. So to put up the government and let them go ahead, and this is the protest zone. In a case like this, we don't need to protest them. If you just get something like that, government knows what they are thinking of at every point in time. So this protest is big and we never be useful. Thank you very much, Dr. Abati. Good afternoon.
Okay, that's Dr. Moses Misala. He says we don't need protests anymore. But perhaps there are other people who have a different view. Someone else is on the line. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dr. Ruben Abati. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you for joining us. Your name, your location.
You have to the mountain. I'm calling from Maui. First of all, let me totally disagree with the last caller. He actually did not understand what the protest was all about, and the argument at the end of the day by trying to link the state to the problem on ground is absolutely off target. Number one, the federal government gets 2.6% or thereabouts federal allocation. The federal government is in charge of policy, for instance, the excise. The federal government has inflation, the monetary policy, whatever. All of these have far-reaching impact, negative or positive, on the people. So you cannot say that the state government will share part of the pain or the problem the federal government inflicts on the people. Not just on the million. And that kind of argument will not work, and it will never work because it's unreasonable. Now, for instance, why should people not protest if they feel like this that what the government is doing is not represented. And when people now say the government is not holding their hands, do whatever, are we under tyranny? Are we under a despotic leader? This is the same government that will come out and tell the people, please, I'm happy to vote for me. Suddenly, they are turning the gun against the people. That democracy doesn't make any sense. The truth is here. There is inflation. And people try to make this policy. It does not only government. They went after the area. People are hungry. That is the truth. They say people cannot afford medicine, people cannot afford to 500 pesos afforded all. 500 pesos. Where are the doctors? Look at the headlines. More than 2,100 have gone to London. That's a country that have your country. That's the kind of country that you live with. You say, children to come. Also, it's not working. And that is to look at the last year. If that's 2 million last year, that's 2 million of 600,000 today. How can you just go to your house and you are using your destiny like that because of what is just in the car? You have the capacity and you just always upside down. You want to keep the people in now. How to make it tonight, subsidy is gone. That kind of subsidy. Now we say this in your program. What happened to you? You're not even making any analysis. You're not even making any transfer. That is developing a simple country. You just no argument for or against, no nothing. And people will just come on here and nationalize illegality and illogic thinking.
Okay. But look, on this subject, two different views.
Yes,
those who are opposed to the protest and those who support the protest. It's in the nature of things, as Mrs. Oloko pointed out, that you have those who will be for and those who will be against. But
no. I'm just trying to say that people should not insult the legitimation of the nation. There is suffering, there's hardship everywhere. It has never been this worse. It's never been this bad. And that is the reality.
Okay, you have made your point.
Which of course was a failure, while it was a monumental failure. But it is a catastrophe of non-unquantifiable degrees. Right now, where are we going to start from? Where are we going? I'm going to remember myself.
Okay.
Where are we going?
Okay, we have had two views, for and against. Let's listen to Mr. Ibrahima, whose hand is up on the Zoom laptop here. Ibrahima, please.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Abati, and our guest speaker. Well, it is true, you will have those who are supporting and those who are against the protests. As you rightly said, it's in the nature of things. I think I want to thank the guest speaker for really putting the issues in perspective. So it is not about, it's not a debate. And let us be dealing with the facts. Are Nigerians hungry? The answer is yes. Is there food inflation that is so high? The answer is yes. Now, what is the government doing about it? That would be the way to really frame this conversation. Or this protest number one, tell Nigerians they are going to cut the cost of governance by at least 50%. Number two, reverse electricity tariff. Okay? Now, on the issue of petroleum subsidy, which is really the big elephant in the room, I think Mr. President should be bold enough, courageous enough to have a new team in the oil and gas sector, in NNPC, and all the subsidiaries. The people who have been there, they were the ones that presided over the huge subsidy scams over the last 8-9 years. Why are they still there? Are they tingles? Can they not be removed? They should be removed. Every one of them who was there in the last 8-9 years. And then bring new people. Now the question will be, these new people you will bring, how are they going to be different? Well, that is where Mr. President needs to put his foot on the ground. I don't know how. And then, of course, who says we cannot, government should not own more than 25% in NNPC? And then sell the rest out to, private investors. Finally, the 4 refineries that are dead, there has to be a plan for them. It's either we are selling them off, or do you know, Mr. Dr. Abati, that those 4 refineries, they got billions and billions of naira every year. We have been spending trillions on turnaround maintenance. We have been spending a lot of money importing petrol. And then a man like Aliko Dangote now invests his own money, $20 billion to build a refinery.
Hello.
Sound.
Okay.
You can see how they do that. So these are the issues. And it will look like we don't really like ourselves in this country. We just are wicked to one another. Thank you, Dr. Abati.
Thank you very much. Well, I'll read this statement from Dayo from Fagba. He says, good afternoon. I want to ask, are we in a democracy or autocracy, or feudalism or imperialism, where people can protest? Again, they send counter-protesters using agberos, police, to intimidate. Imagine a 7-year-old girl protesting in Nigeria that her parents couldn't pay her school fees because your president increased school fees and also created obnoxious policies that have turned the people to beggars and majority in the midst of plenty, and also turned a secure country to a gangster paradise. The question is, what is this government afraid of? The evil that this government does will live after them. It's a shame the worst of us is ruling the best of us. Truly, there was a country. Dayo from Fagba. I come back to you immediately, Mrs. Oloko. You've had 4 responses. Dr. Moses condemning the protest. The gentleman from Oworo saying that Dr. Moses was dead wrong. Ibrahim are raising questions about why the president is not talking to the people, and 3 things that he says government can do to change the equation. And you have Dayo from Fagba asking whether we are in a dictatorship or autocracy. Yeah. Fact.
Thank you, Dr. Abati. You know, when Dr. Moses spoke, I was a bit confused at first. First, he was praising the federal government. Then he went back to the state and was condemning them. I'm like, where are we dividing? Where is that divide happening? So I really don't know. So it's the same thing as the Protestants and the ones that were not protesting against the protesters. So we're all back in the same thing. So the other people that spoke, so everybody is just basically, if you listen to everybody, what they're saying is that yes, we are in a democracy. The day before the protest was supposed to hold, I saw trucks of loads of armored vehicles, blah blah blah, going around, just basically just telling people that look, if you come out, you're going to be in for it. That's what he meant. To an average person, was a form of intimidation. Now they've said that, you know, when you say anything, now people will say that you want trouble to happen. So Dr. Moses is coming from a party, said some of his things were destroyed in the last one. We definitely, let me say categorically there, I do not believe and I do not stand on the fact that things should be destroyed. I'm not part of a process where people are going to destroy or loot things. So let that be very clear now. We don't want that to happen. But you cannot shut our voices because people are going to loot things or going to be whatever. And this is because people like Dr. Moses is in his house. He's not part of the process. If he was part of the process, he would put things in effect. For instance, in Jos, we see what's his name now. I'm trying to even remember the man's name from in Jos. What he's doing there and how he's
a pastor.
Is Dango
Prophet Isa El Buba.
Buba and the other one, what they're doing in Jos. And Dalong. We see what they're doing in Jos. So they are streamlining it, they're helping them confine themselves into whatever it is. You said people should go into. I went to Alausa. Because I went to Gani Fawemi first, you know, to Ojota. We kind of looked at it. We saw that there are a lot of people there, blah, blah, blah. But I went to Ojota. When I was going to Ojota, I was saying to myself that the court has actually confined us to Ojota. That really, we shouldn't be in Alausa. But I looked at my life and I said to myself, which is the safest place to be? I will be right in front of governor's house and his office. And I believe that the cameras are all there. Nothing's going to happen. And then the cameras will be there to be replayed. Now you tell people to go into a confined space, please. Even when it's ordinary rally, I'm a politician. When you're going to a rally, we will wear leggings under our trousers plus the trousers. We will wear runners that you can fasten. And the first thing you do when you get to a rally is you look where are all the exit points, so you can run away. So if you confine me to his place, how am I going to be able to run away from that space? This is another thing that the government are not even thinking about. We do not want you to confine us into a place. We don't want you there's mayhem. Even if it's someone else, you said there are jackals, there are mercenaries that have been killed. You have intelligence. That your intelligence report should continue a bit more now and tell us the people, and then we can arrest them. So if you look at the poll, if you do a poll, Dr. Abati, we had 4 callers. We had 3 callers, 1 person on Kini, 3 to 1. So where are we at? It's empirical. It just tells you that the protest is not a bad thing on its own, but maybe yes, and that's what we need to be having a conversation about, is how do we make sure that the protest is not hijacked, and how do we make sure that the people do not turn into looting. That's where I think we should come in and we should support them and say, look guys, this is how we should do it. So yes, the protest is going to hold. I am not convinced. I've said it before. So they've asked for their demands. Let the demands be met. We know cannot happen immediately, but at least let it be seen that this is the process and this is what you're going to do to meet those demands. That's all what I ask.
Okay, looks like we have another caller on the line as we begin to wrap up. Hello, good afternoon. Your name, your location, and then yes, please.
Understood. I didn't say anything to drink or nothing. I joined the process of entrance before 4 days. We have one objective. What is almost immediately in response to the protest? The people from 4 quarters of the day, we are finished because we are after the care. This is they're going to go to destroy everything. They gave them different agenda to introduce one or two. I think it's one of the naive when it comes to now like this protest has something else. I think they will put out this and destroy the country. That's not something we need now. They could look at the evil intention. Why is that this not idea of those? You think the intention of people are not to do that? So people are protesting about this. People are saying the how the protested then go to the government, do not go to the president. And they pass from different funds. They trace the order of those funds and they trying to get their the government is right, but I don't know this guy when I go. When we take the executive that we don't go to the move. Nobody do nothing of this like that. Don't allow any protest they know what is the result of the law. They have to take that back. They can be detected from the executive. So anything who is himself, make my point alone. That's business. And if you ever want to do something like a business, you don't have to attack my point. And can you know what I'm speaking about? Now, business, it is just the better of what people are doing.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Moses. We have this message from Adegwega Adedeji. He says, I hope Dr. Abati is aware that those tagged thugs, hoodlums, are also victims of bad governance. Who do you blame for that? It is a global fact that the only language politicians and tyrants in power understand is protest. Politicians can predict the pattern and outcome of an election, but they can't predict the outcome of a protest. That is why they become uneasy, uncomfortable, and displeased, and ready to unleash mayhem, military force, and all sorts against protests and the protesters. Having said that, I have spin doctors and political analysts on payrolls of these bad leaders in power keep asking for more time on behalf of their principal, but there are no indicators to show that those in power are in a position of reviving the economy. Rather, they come out with anti-people, killing economy policies. So what do they want the poor masses to do? The same poor masses that have been told over the years to tighten their belts, be patient, to sacrifice. Yet change hasn't come. What do you expect the dying hungry masses to do? They have to protest. Adegwega Adedeji. So another person there supporting the protest. And here we also have the comrade engineer Igbini Odafe Mao. He says, I support President Bola Ahmed Tinubu when he said that fuel subsidy is gone forever for the good of Nigeria. Though it is sad that some members of his team in this sector are misleading him to fail and inflict more pains on Nigerians. I therefore respectively disagree with the demand by my compatriots demanding reinstatement of the scam called fuel subsidy. Comrade Engineer Igbini Odafe Emmanuel from Warrior, Abuja. So that's Comrade Emmanuel there. Well, as we begin to wrap up, Mrs. Oloko, your final thoughts on these interventions. Well, there's another caller on the line. If you can take that caller quickly. Hello? Okay, we lost that caller. Back to you. Over to you.
Okay, so we are just going to speak to the protesters as well that are out there. I'm just going to say that we know sentiments are high, we know emotions are high, but we need to make sure that we do not destroy our states. It is very important that we put that out there. We cannot destroy what we already say we don't have enough of, guys. So please let us just abide by whatever it is and try and speak to each other. So there will always be people that will want to do otherwise, so speak to them. But I don't want us to say that these people out there do not have a reason to be out there. It is so unfair. My problem is not your problem. I know where it's biting me. You don't. And when everybody keeps saying masses, I'm part of the masses because I'm struggling too. I'm making Nigeria work for myself. I know what I have to give up. I know the sacrifices I have to make to live in Nigeria as it is. So guys, please make your points known. Everybody has an opinion and everybody has a right. Just as I have a right to speak, you have a right to speak. And we're not going to take that away from you. But please let us be tolerant of each other. Please let us not turn it to ethnicity. Let us not turn it to a tribal thing. I ask.
Well, thank you very much, Mrs. Ariola Oloko, for joining us today on